In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make electro-pop music, kind of in the style like Lauv, Charlie Puth, the Kid Laroi. And to do that, I actually remade a Charlie Puth song called There's a First Time for Everything, and I'll break down my remake of the song's elements, the sounds of those elements, the mixing, the structure and arrangement, all that jazz. And hopefully by the end of this tutorial, you can make a song in a similar electro-pop style to this one. We're going fast for this one, so set the tempo around 198 to 200 BPM. Start off by making some synthy chords. And you could spice it up by creating like a little top melody with the chords. Like as you see, I just changed this top note over here to a note that's still in the key. So I kind of just created like a little top melody with the chords and then did the same thing over here just by repeating the same note. And for the sounds of those chords, I used 4 presets. I used this piano pad preset from Flex, this synth wave preset from Flex, and then 2 synth sounds from MHA's Vital sound banks on Vital. And here's the other one. So these 2 Vital synths right here really help to give it a very synthy sound, and then these 2 Flex presets over here are just to give it some background support and amplify the overall synth sound. And for the mixing, I did a ton of mixing on here. I did this EQ right here, which kind of looks like a roller coaster now that I look at it. All I did is I took out a lot of the lows so it's not muddy when we make the basses later and it causes the mix to sound gross. We don't want that. Lowered a little bit of the highs so that the highs are a little bit muted and it's not really like painfully in your ears. And then this frequency was peaking on the heat map. It was very dark here, so I just toned it down a little bit. An OTT with these effects for some amplification and compression, and a little sidechain over here so that when we make the drums later, they impact more. It's not much, it's just 44% just to help with the impact of the drums. Next, take the bass notes from this chords and chop them up into some bass presets. And by bass notes, I just mean like the root notes of the chords. So like this is an A sharp chord, this is an F sharp chord, so you just take the root notes of these chords and then chop them up into a rhythm that sounds like this. And then as you see, I put some transition notes here to kind of just give it some variance so that it doesn't sound very boring and stuff, and it's not just like a chopped up rhythm. It sounds pretty bouncy when you add that as well. And I used 2 Vital presets and 1 Flex preset to accomplish the sound of these basses. I used this one, and then I used these bass presets from MHA's Vital sound banks. Here's the other one right here. So the first 2 are really on the analog synthy side of basses, and it kind of just gives it a electronic feel with the bass. And then this one is an acoustic bass, but as you see here, I took the high and I turned it all the way down so that it's a little muffled, and that just really helps for some low end support with these basses. For mixing, I put a Fruity Blood overdrive on here with these settings just to help with some amplification and a tiny bit of distortion as well. And then to also help with the amplification and some compression, I put an OTT on here with these settings, and a similar sidechain from earlier, but a little bit less so that the bass punches a little bit more in the mix. Next, take the chords and make an ARP out of them, and to do that, all I did is I went up here to the wrench, and then I hit arpeggiate, and then you get this when you do that. But then I also put in this right here, which is the top melody from the chords, just to amplify that a little bit more. And when you put the 2 all together, you get something like this. And for the sound, I just used like a little 8-bit synth sound from Mini Synth. And for the mixing, I put this EQ on here kind of just to get out the lows for the same reasons for the chords, so it's not muddy. And then boost a tiny bit of the highs up here so that it's just a little bit crispier in the mix. An OTT on here for some extra amplification and depth for the sound. And then the same sidechain from earlier. Now for the drums. I have a kick. Make sure it's very short, hard-hitting, and very punchy as well. I have a snare. Make sure it's very synthetic and short. And then I made a hi-hat loop that just puts it on every other beat like this, and it sounds like this. Then I have the same thing, but as a sample version as well. And all together, the drums sound like this. And all of the drums just have a Fruity Blood overdrive on here with the main knob turned up like this, just to really give us some more impact and amplification for the drum sound. Now for effects, I added a guitar loop, just to kind of fill up the mix a little bit. And then I added some ambience to also amplify the mix in the background. And then I have a downlifter that just helps with some impact when the chorus first hits. And then to rise up to the end of the chorus, I also just have an uplifter. Now for the structure and arrangement of this track, so I kind of just broke this down into like a verse or bridge or anything like that, and then I have the chorus over here. For the verse and bridge, I have a filter automated for the chords just so that it introduces it a little bit and it's not like in your ears and blasting for the verse. And then I have the bass playing as well with a simplified version of the drums. It's just the kicks and the snare in the same pattern from earlier. And then a tiny instrumental break that leads up with a sweep. And then I just made a fill out of the snares that we used from earlier. Kind of imagine it goes like this. And then boom, everything plays. And for the chorus, when I say everything plays, I mean literally everything all together. You have the chords, bass, arp, the background effects, and all the drums and the downlifter, uplifter as well. Yeah, this is what the final structure of the track looks like. And without further ado, here is the final result. All I need is one